Hello guys and welcome. If you're new here, my name is Sam Session and today we're going to be talking a little bit about some sequencing tips and tricks. Now this video is solely just meant to make your life a little bit easier when it comes to sequencers. I know sequencers can be pretty scary, but sequencers can really be implemented in every single build you do. Now, a lot of times it may not seem appropriate to use sequencers, or it may be too hard to use sequencers, but sequencers is a really good way of making things a little bit easier on yourself. It is also a good way of making things a little bit more realistic. Like, things might happen automatically, or things might be a little bit too hard to do practically, and sequencers is always a great idea just to make your build a little bit more special and unique. So I'm not going to be getting into the basics or introduction of sequencing. I'm more just going to be doing some tips and tricks. Now this video is basically for people who already know how to sequence. If you're more looking for an instructional video on how to sequence, this really isn't the place for you. And I will be uploading an introduction to sequencing if you guys really want that. Let me know in the comment section. I'd really like to hear what you guys think. I think we're just going to jump right into it because I don't like to drag on my intros for too long. I don't want to be that guy, but please hit the subscribe button and comment down below. I would really appreciate it and it really helps me out. Alright, without further ado, let's get right into it. So the first thing I'm going to want to say is when you open a sequencer, it's pretty small and you don't have a ton of room to work with. These little dots up in the top left corner aren't here for no reason. You can actually click and drag and expand the sequencer to your entire screen. Now you may be thinking, okay, this is kind of an obvious tip, but you'd be surprised at the amount of people who don't know this, and this could make their life just so much easier. Another quick bonus tip for people that don't know, sequencers actually have a 5-minute time limit. It's not capped off at 60 seconds. In order to unlock more time, all you have to do is add an effect to the sequencer timeline that passes 60 seconds. You will automatically unlock another minute or so to the timeline. This goes all the way up until 5 minutes, as I just previously said. Which, by the way, basically just means that you can only have up to 5 minutes per sequencer, and it also means that any audio that exceeds 5 minutes in length will not be able to be played on a sequencer and will have to be played somewhere else. Now this is more of a secret tip. A lot of people think about this list but being times like 1,000 and have tons of them. And what's really tough about them is that they normally have, let's just say they have it blinked and the on time is 0.25 and then like maybe the off time like 9 seconds and it's a specific color and you have to do it with every single one that goes all the way down. Well, actually, if you look at the bottom, it does say copy, but not a lot of people know how to use it. What you can actually do is press the copy button, press and hold on the thing that you want to copy and paste, and then drag it to the next slide or the next effect and let go, and it will automatically copy all of the settings into the next one, and you can continue to do this down with all of them. The only thing this does not work with is time. It will not copy the time in. So if you do want to copy the time, as you can see, I am doing that now, and it's not affecting any of the other times. You actually have to do this manually and or check the time here and enter it in manually here. The next tip is going to come with the speaker. Now, not a lot of people know how to play music in a speaker or know how it actually works. So we're going to have two speakers here. And I'm not actually going to demonstrate, so you can't really hear anything, but you're just going to have to take my word for it. You can open up your sequencer, and you can add 2 speakers to the sequencer, but you only will need one in order to play the song for both sequencers, and I will tell you why in a second. First, what you're going to want to understand is that the speaker will be on. Now, in order for you to understand this, basically it's taking a speaker that's turned off and turning it on. It's not playing a song. Now, if you actually go into what you can do, you can turn it on, you can turn it off, or you can override an entire playlist. Basically, what this means is it will take the playlist that the speaker is connected to, and it will override the playlist, aka whatever the playlist is playing will automatically stop playing, and it will play whatever audio you want it to play. Which also means that when this sequence is over, it will return to playing whatever was on the playlist. This also means that that any other speaker connected to that playlist will also play that song. So if you wanted to have, let's just say, let's play playlist 5, and we also play playlist 5, if we have this sequencer only affecting this one speaker, and we have the override playlist, and we have some sort of ID in there, and we hit play, both speakers will be playing this. And this is true for, you can have 10,000 speakers in your plot, even though I don't think that would be very smart. You can do so and still be able to play that music. You can have actually 10,000 speakers on your plot, and as long as they're all set to the exact same playlist and you are affecting one of the speakers that are connected to that playlist and have an audio, it will do that for all of them. So please make sure that the speaker that you are affecting, that you want to play, is not connected to any other speaker that you don't want to play. For example, let's just say you have a speaker somewhere else in the plot that's connected to the same playlist playing the same song, but you don't want whatever song you want this to be affecting this to play on that speaker. So you want to make sure that this speaker, even if it's the same song you want to play, is connected to a different playlist, or both of them will play when being played by the sequencer, sorry. A big common misconception is that if you have a speaker that's turned on, it won't go over the time 60 seconds. It will stay at 60, caps out at 60. Now, the common misconception is you can't play a song in a speaker that's longer than 60 seconds, which is completely false, because if you just did what I just told you to do, aka override playlist, you can actually set it more than 60 seconds, which is, you can set it up to the 5-minute cap. Another quick disclaimer, like I said before, the only way to play a song from the beginning every single time consistently is to override entire playlist. By turning it on, the only thing you're doing is turning the speaker from off to on, and if it's already on, you're not doing anything. The song will not restart, the song won't start at a specific time, it's just going to turn the speaker on at whatever time the song happens to be. You might get really lucky and get it timed perfectly for some reason, but most likely the only way to consistently every single time start it from the beginning and starting it consistently is override entire playlist. Please also know that this whole time thing, going past 60 seconds, also works on triggers. Triggers can play up to 5 minutes of songs, and that's about it. It doesn't play more than that. Things like TNT can be sequenced. I'm just going to get away from the blast area, but they can be sequenced. But they cannot be adjusted. The time cannot be adjusted, and it can't do anything except blow up. So it does explode right on that little logo, and it doesn't explode anything after that logo. So that's just a little interesting. I'm not sure why you can't adjust the time, or why the time isn't very small. Because if you are running out of room vertically and you need to add some stuff after it, it kind of takes up too much room. You should probably change that. You can also add Christmas lights. Christmas lights can be changed as well, just like normal lights. Next, we're going to go on to our image panels and sequencing image panels. And just really quickly, a little bonus tip for you. You can still sequence path image panels. It is still an image panel, regardless if it's a path or not. You can still sequence it. Just letting you know. Okay, so sequencing images is pretty simple. I'm not going to go into how to animate a decal, as you can see in my Phantasmic. I'm not really going to get into much of that. I think it's pretty self-explanatory on how you do that. You're just adding a image, and then you're just duplicating it, changing the times, trying to time it correctly. Different things an image panel can do are things like set image, fade image, and that's about it. Fading an image is pretty self-explanatory, and I will show you exactly what it does. We have a Roblox logo. If I hit play, it fades from the Roblox logo and out. If I click fade, I can actually change the transparency start and end from 100% to 0% and completely reverse that order from fading in instead of fading out. Now this can also be done like this. To be able to fade both in and also fade out. Please note that you don't have to start at 100. I can start at 50. And it still has the same effects. Setting an image is pretty self-explanatory. You choose the image you want to set it to, you change the time you want it to be set for, and when you hit play, however long the duration of that is, it will make that image. Also, please know that you can still affect the same image panel with multiple different images. People think that you need multiple image panels to play one image. That is not true. You can use the same image panel to play 2 different decals, no problem. Okay, bonus tips for the image panels. first thing I am going to do is show you guys a little tip that I use in every single one of my shows. Now, the very first time that the game loads in a decal, it will do this. See how it turns white for just a few seconds? And I'm going to show you exactly what that looks like with yet another decal. You can see that right after the decal plays, the image goes completely white for a few seconds and does that. Now let's just say you have some sort of, sequence going on with a bunch of pictures, and they're all like 0.25 seconds long. It's going to be showing white for the majority of that sequence. This is going to happen every single time you load into a game. Once you load in the decals to the server, it will no longer do that. For example, if you play the show once over entirely through, or as long as you can get all of those decals loaded once you're in a server, it will no longer do this. You can do this two ways. You can either, before every single show, do a test run to make sure everything is working, or you can do what I do, and you make a sound stage somewhere with a storage area. I store every single one of my decals that I use in my show inside that storage area, so that when the game loads up, the server automatically loads in all of the decals, so I can just immediately start the show and not have to worry about that little white thing happening before the images. That is a pretty humongous tip to basically learn. A lot of people don't know about this, and I see tons of sequences that have this going on, and it really cringes me out. So just the simple storage area will fix your issue, and or just running it through once before you show someone. Another tip that's basically pretty well known at this point is that I don't use one sequencer for each scene. I usually use right around 2 to 3 sequencers per scene, and how I do that is I have different sequencers that are affected in one scene, and then I use a button to set the sequencers off at the exact same time. This basically means I have a lot more vertical space to work with, and the same amount of horizontal space. So it will start and end at the exact same time, but I have more vertical space to work with. For example, I can have a sequencer specifically dedicated to lighting, I can have a sequencer specifically dedicated to audio, or animation, or etc. My tip for you is to always have the animation, or whatever you are doing, like for example, let's just say you're doing some lighting design or some water design, in the same sequencer as the speaker, and I'm going to show you why. If you have your sequencer that you are affecting in your show inside, if you have your speaker with your decals or whatever you're animating, water, whatever it is, you can actually see the timestamps in it when this audio is playing. So basically, if there's a specific part in the audio that you want something affected, let's just say, let's take my Phantasmic for example. If Mickey appears and it's on a bass drop, I can say, okay, right in between 2 and this line right here, Mickey appears. So let's make this decal right in between where 2 and that other line is. And that's how you can basically time things. This is how you really time, this is how you correctly time shows, and I hope to see a lot more well-timed shows, a lot more decals, as long as people are taking this tip to heart. Another tip that's pretty obvious, but not a lot of people act on it, is that you can zoom out in the timeline. Basically, what you do is come down here to 100%. You can change it to 10% or 500%, making things that are right around 2 seconds very big, or making things that are 2 seconds extremely small. This is very helpful if you have things that are over 60 seconds that you want to duplicate. Let's say I make the speaker 60 seconds and I want to duplicate it after it's done playing. What I would like to do is come back here and hit this button and hit duplicate and press it. But as you can see, my mouse automatically snaps to the middle of the effect instead of snapping to the end or to the front. So I can't place it right after this sequence happens. But what you can do is go from 100% to 10% so you can see a lot better, and then place it from there. So that is the easier way of basically doing that. Alright guys, I've given quite a bit of really helpful tips and tricks. I really hope you guys enjoyed and learned something from the video. I spent right around a half hour recording this video. Really hope you guys enjoyed and learned something. Please let me know in the comments if you learned something, or if you have any sort of questions at all, or even if you want me to make a part 2 of this video, because I am definitely 100% down to do that. Thank you guys again for watching. I want to quickly shout out Inspire Imagineering. It is my developer team that I own and manage. The Discord server will be linked in the description. Thank you guys so much for watching again, and I will see you in the next one.